Good morning. Okay, I'm just waiting for maybe a few more people to join. I hope everyone's feeling good this morning, or at least here ready to start practicing some yoga. Thought it was going to be snowing this morning, but instead it's raining. But it's all good. We're here in our cozy homes practicing some yoga together. So if you're joining me live, thank you so much for practicing along with me. And if you're joining later on to watch this, that's awesome too. Thank you so much for watching and practicing. So I'm going to wait. If someone in the HTGC yoga group doesn't mind, I'll wait till I hear, just to make sure you can hear me and see me okay and that everything looks good before we get started. If you don't already have props nearby, you can take a few moments to gather some props. So ideally something to sit on when we're on the floor. So a cushion or folded up blankets, a bolster, blocks. There's lots of options, but it just makes sitting on the floor a lot more comfortable. Even for folks who are flexible, it's still really nice to have something to sit on, just to really help to elevate that seated posture. We always like to have some blocks nearby. You never know when a pose might just really benefit from a block. So if you have those, I recommend having those nearby, as well as a strap. We will probably use a strap for one or two poses today. And then, of course, a variety of blankets, bolsters. Okay, fantastic. So once you've gathered your props, you can come to a seated position. And this can be on the floor, or if you prefer today, it can be on a chair if sitting on the floor is not accessible for you today. Just a normal, comfortable, seated, cross-legged position. Of course, if you prefer lotus or something like that, feel free. And then bring your awareness to your body and its place in space and its interaction with all the different parts of your body. So head, think about aligning that over your heart. And then heart aligned over your pelvis. So this may require making some adjustments. When you make these adjustments, let them be soft and gentle and subtle. So we never want to force ourselves into a pose. We don't want to be really rigid and tense. We want this sort of soft liftedness throughout our body. Soft awareness and alignment. So with everything you do, all the adjustments and corrections and poses, can they be gentle? Can they be graceful? With everything, I find it helps to imagine what it would feel like in your body first before making that adjustment, And then very often it sort of just happens naturally without actually any force applied to the pose. So you can imagine how it would feel to be rooted through the tailbone, anchoring your lower body, your tailbone into the ground. Almost imagine as if roots are growing out of the sit bones, out of the tailbone, grounding you down, feeling your lower spine kind of lengthen, while simultaneously, how would it feel to feel this liftedness, almost as if a beautiful flower was growing from the top of your head, growing up towards the sky, out from the crown. So this gentle liftedness, lengthening in both directions. So how would that feel? So don't force yourself into it first. Just imagine a very gentle opening of the chest. Continuing to ground and root through the tailbone and the sit bones. How would it feel to relax your shoulders? Let your knees fall closer towards the earth. How would it feel to bring a relaxedness to the face, to the whole body, maybe a smile? And so continue to ease into this comfortable seated position. Feel free to bring your hands into prayer. Maybe one hand to your belly and one hand on your heart. This is my personal favorite. So assume a position with your hands of your choice. You can keep them on your knees or your thighs. And begin to become aware of your breathing as well. So still integrating that physical posture that we just went over, but also becoming aware of, if your hand's on your belly and your heart, how that breathing affects your hands. So as you inhale through your nose, can you think about expanding your belly like a balloon? So often we take these shallow breaths in our chest, and in yoga we learn to breathe into our bellies. So it takes a bit of time, especially if you're new to this, or maybe just waking up in the morning. Think about sending that breath through the nose, down the throat, so to speak, and into our bellies, filling that belly up. So as you inhale, you'll feel your hand gently rise. Maybe you can take in a little bit more air than you thought. And of course, when you're ready to exhale, also exhaling out the nose, feel yourself gently press that air out of the belly, releasing as much air as you can. And again, let this be gradual and soft, so we're not forcing the breathing. If you're not able to take your deepest breath this morning right now, that's fine. Throughout the class, our breathing will definitely deepen. We'll be able to take in more oxygen. So for now, wherever you're at is all good. And once you get the hang of the belly breathing, you can start thinking about the breathing in 3 parts. So you'll inhale, first expanding your belly. Then once your belly is totally full of air, think about expanding that abdomen. And finally, your chest. So you think about your clavicle gently opening, creating more space in the chest. So belly, abdomen, chest, 3-part breathing. It's almost like a snowman. Happy holidays. And then as you exhale, releasing the air out of your entire body, chest, abdomen, belly. And you can go at your own pace Every one of us breathes a little bit differently. Of course, the goal is to slow down our breathing so we can take in more air. And it can also be very meditative. And if you're familiar with Ujjayi breathing, you can incorporate that as well. So that's where we make a sound of an ocean with our breath. So sometimes it's called victorious breathing, and it's also a great tool to stay focused, and it's very calming. So the best way to describe it that I've heard is if you think about being in a bathroom and you're trying to fog up the mirror with your mouth. So like a steamy bathroom, like a shower, and you'll constrict the muscles in the back of your throat to do that. So it'll be a very audible exhale. So you do the same thing but with your mouth closed, similar in Ujjayi breath. So your inhales and exhales will be audible, primarily the exhales, especially as you begin this. So you'll feel the air pass over the throat as you exhale. So just taking a few more breaths in this comfortable seated position. Becoming aware of your thoughts. Maybe noticing any holiday to-do lists that you have running through your mind. Maybe cookies you have to bake or shopping you have to do. So please allow yourself to set those thoughts outside. Maybe visualize that you're setting them in a different room of your house. You can go back to them after class. For now, we're trying to stay present and in the moment. So just give yourself permission to let that stuff go, at least temporarily. We can begin with 3 chants of Om. So feel free to bring your hands into prayer. And we'll begin by inhaling deeply. With a gentle smile on your face, begin to rub your palms together briskly, creating some heat in your palms. And keep going until you feel a nice warmth there. And then we'll use that nice heat to give ourselves a little bit of a loving massage. So just starting by bringing your hands to any place that might need a little attention. So maybe it's your hips. Maybe they feel really tight this morning. So just bringing your hands to that area and gently giving them a little bit of a massage. So not a lot of pressure, just some nice, maybe circular motions. Or maybe use the sole of your hand to knead into the muscles a little bit. The neck is a common one where we hold tension, so that's always a good go-to. Just giving yourself a little squeeze of the shoulders. Or if you prefer, you can give yourself a big hug or maybe a scalp massage. Just a little TLC. And when you're ready, we will sweep our arms up as we inhale. Really reaching, really opening up with the arms. When you get to the top, your shoulder blades will lower. And then as you exhale, pushing the walls away, really push out with those palms. We'll continue this at our own pace a few more times, really thinking about taking up a lot of space around us with our arms, so reaching out as much as we can. Once we get to the top, your shoulders lower and your shoulder blades come together and lower down. And then as you're ready to exhale, pushing away. A couple more times. So you'll see once my arms get to the top, I create a little bend in my elbows, so think about that contracting of the back shoulder blades. So stay present, thinking about really taking up space with your arms, matching the movements to the breathing. One more. Also, once your arms come down to the ground, we'll take a gentle side stretch. So I'm actually going to come up off my seat, off my bolster. It's a little easier for me this way. So we'll plant our right hands, or whichever hand you're starting with, on the ground. Slide it away from you as your opposite arm comes up and over. And again, we're starting off nice and gradual. So it's okay if you're even just like this. You don't need to be bent over very far. It's not about that. It's about feeling that stretch, especially in the left side body. And then also thinking about lengthening through the entire spine. So just like before, think about a flower blossoming from the crown of the head. This time it's going to be guiding you on a diagonal. So even though we're kind of crunching to the right, still think about some length happening in the right side as well. And we breathe. Exhale, think about grounding your left hip bone, or sit bone rather, into the mat. One more inhale, final exhale, and inhale, come back to center. Lower that arm down. Okay, and repeat on the other side, sliding the left hand away from your body, right arm comes up and over. Not worrying too much about how far down you're supposed to go, or even what it should look like. In this pose, the most important thing is feeling it. So thinking about that right sit bone, staying grounded into the mat. Thinking about length happening through the spine. Think about kind of the upper torso coming up, getting out of those hip bones. Length happening in the right side of the body as well as the left. Your right shoulder shouldn't be up by your ear, so it may help to create a slight bend in the right elbow to help keep your shoulder down. Breathing. One more inhale. Final exhale. And as you inhale, return back to the center. Hands can be at your sides or on your knees. Just some gentle neck stretches now. So inhale deeply. Exhale, bring your right ear to right shoulder. Pause here and take a breath, feeling that nice stretch in the left side of the neck. Exhale, and then as you inhale, you lift your head back up to center. Full deep inhale. And then exhale, left ear to left shoulder. Taking an inhale into the stretch. And exhale. And then inhale, head comes back to center. This time, if your hands are on your knees, try and put your hands down on the floor, tapping the floor with your fingertips, palms facing forward. And this is going to help to create a little bit of an external rotation of the shoulder, opening up the chest, and it'll deepen the stretch. So give it a try. If it's too much, you can bring your hands back to your knees. So you're going to inhale deeply. Exhale, right ear to right shoulder. And then if you'd like to, you can take your right hand, bring it up and place it on your left ear, just for a bit of just an added stretch. So not a lot of pressure here. Breathing into the stretch. Now we can hold this for 2 cycles of breath. So another inhale. And exhale, and carefully release when you're ready. Bringing your head back up to center, taking a full deep inhale. And as you exhale, left ear to left shoulder, feel free to take your left hand, bring it up and resting it on your right ear. And breathe. So if your hand is down on the ground, palm forward, you should probably feel that added stretch and opening of the pec, of the arm. So we did 2 cycles of breath here. So when you're ready, on an inhale, releasing your arm back down, coming out. Awesome. Now we're going to come down to our backs. So carefully coming onto your back, starting with your soles of your feet on the mat. Walk your feet away from one another a little bit, so a little more than hip width apart, bringing your knees to rest towards one another. So you'll find that this pose, this position, really helps to ground your entire back into the mat. Possibly even walk your feet a little further away from one another, maybe about mat width apart. And this will probably feel really good on your lower back here. So maybe just for a moment, bringing one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. And just like we did before, bring your attention back to that really deep belly breathing that we should always be practicing. So thinking about inhaling, expanding your belly. Now here on the ground, you get a little bit of feedback. So you should feel your lower back expanding as well, pressing into the mat. So it's not just your belly lifting, but it's the opposite side of your body, your back pressing into the mat as well. So you're expanding in both directions. And this awareness is really important. We're going to start to do some core exercises in a moment. And it's really important to keep our back grounded into the mat to make sure we don't injure our backs or cause any pain. So this breathing is going to help you to remember to ground your back into the ground as we practice. Just taking a couple more deep, conscientious breaths. Belly, abdomen, and chest, all expanding as they fill with air. Simultaneously, the back body expands as well. Okay, now carefully walking your feet back together so they're about hip width apart. And then when you're ready, lifting your right leg up towards the sky. And you can feel free to interlace your hands behind your legs, but I actually personally am going to leave my hands at my sides. I find that this kind of helps me be honest with where I'm at with my flexibility in my leg right now. We're still getting warmed up, so we don't want to apply a lot of force on that hip joint. So it depends on where your flexibility is at, but if you feel a little stiff, I actually recommend keeping your hands at your sides for now. We're going to start to make some circles with that right ankle. So just thinking about the circles being nice and smooth and complete. If you're going really quickly, maybe slow it down a little bit and see if you can become aware of the feeling of each and every little micro movement of that ankle. And And switch directions, so just making that circle go in the other direction now. If your back's feeling tired, feel free to grasp the sides of your yoga mat with your hands, and you'll find that this really helps you to ground your back and keep it stable. All right, now we're going to start to make some circles. Let's go in the other direction now with our entire leg. So the rotation instead of the ankle is going to be happening from the hip. This does not have to be a large circle. It can be really tiny or as large as your hip joint will allow. But take it easy to start and see where you're at right now. So you'll point your toes here. So often we flex our feet, and this one you're going to point it. So stay graceful, stay connected to the motion, stay connected to your breathing, and go ahead and switch directions. So making that circle happen the other way. And be honest with yourself. Make sure these circles are full, complete circles, not semicircles. As best as you can, of course. If at any point you need to take a break, feel free to lower that leg. We're almost done. All right, now we're coming straight into supine pigeon, so that right ankle will just rest on your left thigh, creating sort of like what we call a figure four, but it's sort of like a triangle in the space here. Just to start, we're going to take the sole of our palm and rest it on the hip crease, so kind of right on that fleshy part of the thigh where it meets your hip of the right side, and apply a little bit of gentle pressure, sort of like a very gentle massage, just opening up that right hip. Especially if you have any tightness in the hips, this probably feels really good, just a gentle opening up. You can continue to stay here and gently massage open that right hip. Or if you want to go further, you'll reach your right hand between that little triangle that you've made and grab your thigh, your left thigh with your hands, bringing your legs closer towards your torso. And breathe. See if you can flex both feet. You can gently rock side to side if you want. Stay aware of your breathing. Keep that belly breath going. When you're ready, you release. So your right sole of your foot is going to come down to the mat, and you're going to extend your left leg up towards the sky now. Starting with ankle circles. So circling your toes, drawing a circle with the toes, making that circle happen at the left ankle. And again, maybe slow it down just a little bit, see if you can be aware of each and every little movement. Ideally, this motion will be really smooth, but for some of us, including me today, this is really choppy. So if your joints are stiff, if you're cold, if, especially in winter time, our joints are just not as loose as they are in the summer. The dryness contributes to that. So if your movements here are a little choppy, almost kind of robotic, or just not fluid, then this is something that you'll want to practice more. And then reverse the direction. Feel free to close your eyes here. You know what it's supposed to feel like in your body. You can relax your eyes, and this will actually help you to get more in tune with the physical sensations. All right, now we're going to start to make those circles at the hips. So circles with the entire leg, toes pointed. Always breathing, keeping your back grounded into the mat. Making full, complete circles. And reverse the direction. And then go ahead and bring your left ankle to your right upper thigh, so kind of right below the knee. And then starting by taking the left sole of your palm, pressing it in that hip crease, applying a little pressure here. Your left foot is flexed. Just breathing, allowing yourself to relax. So often, especially for beginners, I know I did, you try to force yourself into poses sometimes, and by doing that, you tense up, and it's so counterintuitive. We don't want to force ourselves into the pose. We don't want to tense up. That's actually going to stop our bodies from becoming more flexible. So I encourage you to think about what you can soften, what you can release. Always staying connected to the body, helping power all the physical actions in yoga from our core, thinking about that fire kind of igniting in the core, kind of powering us through while staying really soft and relaxed. So dynamic. There's always so much going on. And then, of course, if you haven't yet, if you want to reach your hands through that little hole, the left hand will reach through that triangle, right arm wraps around, grabbing your right thigh, bringing it closer. Feel free to rock side to side a little bit if you'd like. Just a nice little back massage here. Inviting your ujjayi breath to take form if you haven't yet, or if you've lost it. Making those exhales audible. Out your nose, of course. And release when you're ready. Just bringing both soles of your feet to the mat. Now we're going to take it up a notch. So if you'd like to, feel free to just do one leg at a time. Grab the sides of the mat. Make some variations to suit your needs today. But think about, go ahead and bring both feet up towards the sky. And of course, if this is like, oh no, not today, then feel free to lower one leg down. So your feet are flexed. You're thinking about reaching up towards the sky with your heels. Grounding your back into the ground and breathing. So on your next exhale, you're going to slowly lower your legs down to the mat, matching the duration of this movement with your exhale. So once you've completely exhaled, your feet will be on the ground. And then when you're ready to inhale, lifting your legs up, matching that with your inhale. So you'll exhale, lower your legs down. Really think about in this pose kind of that fire in your core, helping to power all these movements. But try not to tense anything up, especially your neck, shoulders. See if you can keep those relaxed. And follow your own breath. Grasping onto the sides of the mat will really help, so feel free to use that. If you need to take a break, of course, feel free. Final exhale, can you pause halfway, taking a breath in and then out and lower. Ooh, and relax. Go ahead and hug your knees into your chest. Feel free to rock side to side if you'd like. Noticing anywhere your body might have built up some tension during that last pose, and letting yourself relax. So it could be the shoulders or the lower back. Just becoming aware of that so you can let yourself not continue to hold that tension there, but rather release. And then just hug your right knee into your chest, bring your left knee all the way straight forward and down. And then you can continue to think about hugging your right knee in a little bit closer towards your right shoulder. And closer up towards your chest. Always breathing here, taking a big deep inhale in. And as you begin to exhale, peel your head, torso up off the mat, bringing your nose to your knee. See if you can lengthen your exhale a little bit, letting all the air out. And then whenever you're ready to inhale, release back down and inhale. We'll do that 2 more times. Filling our belly up with air as we inhale, and then as we begin to exhale, peeling ourselves up, nose to knee. And a total of 3 times. Make sure you're not inhaling in this bind or in this crunch. You want to inhale once you've released and come back down. Returning your right leg to the ground when you're ready. Hugging in your left knee this time. And we started by just holding here and breathing, so you can think about your knee coming a little closer to your left shoulder. And then hugging it in a little closer towards your chest. Taking a deep inhale in. Exhale, peeling up, nose to knee. And don't use your neck muscles as much to lift you, but rather your core here. Releasing when you're ready to inhale. 2 more times at your own pace. Your feet should be flexed, ideally. Awesome. And whenever you're ready, after your 3rd time, go ahead and hug Both knees in. Rock side to side if you'd like. And then we'll sit up. So you can rock and roll, or you can roll to one side and push yourself up. Coming to a seated position and coming into staff. I'll actually sit this way. So in staff, it may help to kind of walk the flesh from under our sit bones out to the sides a little bit, so you're actually picking it up and moving it. And this will really help. It feels weird, it feels silly, but this will help you to feel really grounded through your sit bones. Legs are outstretched in front of you. Feet are flexed, so that's really important in staff. And again, head over heart, heart over pelvis. So just trying your best here while still staying soft to create that alignment. So a lot of the times if we're stiff, we'll be leaning over. This is of course exaggerated, but my head is not over my heart here. So even, if it's just a slight change growing towards that alignment, that's the important part. Shoulders relaxed, growing nice and tall through the crown of the head. Sit bones engaged, tailbone engaged into the mat. So staff is one of those ones that just looks really simple. We're just sitting on the floor, right? But after a couple minutes or maybe even moments, you'll start to feel it in your legs, feel it in your core, maybe even in your neck and shoulders. So breathe through it, stay connected. And then we will slide our hands back, palms facing down. Really stretch your fingers away from one another. So open them up as big as you can. We're coming into reverse plank. So get a nice good foundation with your hands. When you're ready, on an inhale, you'll press into your hands, lifting your hips up towards the sky. Gaze points at the ceiling, so don't let your head fall back. Your neck is just a neutral extension of your spine here, and we are breathing. So ideally, your hands are aligned right underneath your shoulders. Of course, you probably can't turn to look at them, so if you have someone nearby, you can ask them. The trick is usually to start, before we lift up, with our hands a little bit further back behind our shoulders, because when we come up, we'll come into alignment. So one more inhale, can you lift your hips a little bit higher? And exhale, release. We're going to do that again, so we're just going to pause in staff, take a little break, maybe bring your hands to your shoulders, make some shoulder circles, drawing those elbows towards each other as we come forward and away from each other as they go back. Switch directions. Awesome. And then we will try that staff one more time. If that was really, really tricky and painful or challenging for you, and you want a variation, you can bend your knees, set your soles of your feet on the ground, and lift up that way. It's kind of like a crab. So that's a nice way to just gain some strength in your arms so that you can eventually do staff or reverse plank. So lifting up when you're ready. Thinking about distributing the weight in your hands, not just in the wrist part, but in the whole hand, so the palm, fingertips. Lifting the hips up, stay light. And of course, whenever you're ready, lower down on an exhale. So maybe this time shake out your hands a little bit. Okay, and from here, we will come into a wide-legged pose. So feet come wide, and do whatever you need to do to get comfortable. Maybe take off some layers, put a folded blanket under your hips one more time. And then once you're here, once you're comfortable, feet are flexed. You're going to open your arms out to the sides. Take a look back behind you to make sure you have enough room. You're not going to hit any furniture or a wall. And adjust as needed. And on an exhale, you're going to twist your torso to the side. Reach your fingertips towards your toes as you exhale completely. Inhale, back up, full deep inhale. Exhale, twist the other way and reach. Keep your feet flexed. Inhale, back to the center. And so going at your own pace, it's a twist and a reach. Thinking about keeping your spine long, so try not to round your spine. Try to keep that long and lifted, and the hinge is happening from the hips. So you can go really nice and slow and keep that slow breathing if you'd like, or if you want to pick up the cardio a little bit, feel free to make this one fluid motion. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So it's your practice. You can slow it down or speed it up as much as you want. Just make sure you're taking full inhales and exhales. Not half inhales and exhales, but full ones. And your arms are really reaching in both directions the whole time. Feet are flexed. I like to exhale out my mouth in this one. All right, one more time on each side. And coming back to center. Bring the soles of your feet together into cobbler. So it's not a bound angle where our feet are really close to our bodies, but instead think about them being a little far away, about forearms length away from your body. And as you look down, there will be a diamond shape. So sitting up nice and tall, creating that length in the spine. Exhale, come up and over, hinging from the hips. Lowering that torso over the legs. And you can go further than me if you're capable. You could potentially reach your torso towards your feet. Or maybe you just hinged about an inch. That's totally cool. Wherever you're at, just don't think, don't ruminate over it. Don't beat yourself up if you aren't as flexible as you used to be. So if you have any of those thoughts, please stop and breathe. So maybe bring a smile to your face. Breathe into that stretch. Filling your belly up, feeling a nice opening of the lower back. Exhale, release. Maybe lowering your torso just a little closer towards the ground. 2 more deep inhales, filling the belly up. Creating that length in the spine as you inhale. And then exhale, just soften, allowing yourself to come a little closer towards the ground. Total of 3 deep inhales and exhales. And then when you're ready, walking yourself back up and coming into hands and knees. So hands and knees, once again, our fingers are spread really far away from one another. Hands underneath your shoulders, knees aligned underneath your hips. If you look back between your knees, you shouldn't see your feet, so you may need to tuck them out of the way a little bit. So this is tabletop. Now we'll come into cat and cow. So in cow, we'll let our bellies drop, tailbone reaches up, head looks up, full inhale. For cat, we'll start to start letting that motion happen from the tailbone, arching our spine, bringing our tailbone down and our head down, gazing at your belly button or your knees. Exhale. So let each motion begin with your tailbone. Thinking about your body kind of flowing like a wave. Let this be graceful. Stay connected, stay aware. Matching the duration of the movement to your breath. So your breath should not change to fit the pose. The pose will last however long your breath, inhale or exhale, lasts. One more time. Coming back to tabletop, plant your right hand and reach your left arm up towards the sky. Exhale, thread the needle, so left hand will come between that little hole, but don't sit your elbow down or your shoulder down yet. We're going to sweep back up as we inhale. Exhale, thread the needle. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, this time thread the needle, and you can set your shoulder and the side of your head on the mat. Now your right hand can stay exactly where it is in a little kickstand, or there's options. You can extend your arm forward. You can reach your right arm all the way around your back to reach towards your left hip. So this pose will feel a little funny. Your bottom might be sticking up in the air a tiny bit. So if it feels a little funky, that's okay. That's normal. But you're getting a nice gentle twist here in kind of a special way, incorporating the shoulders into it. Make sure you're breathing, even though your belly might be slightly constricted. Make sure you're still taking those big, deep inhales and exhales. And then when you're ready, releasing, coming back to tabletop. And we'll repeat that on the other side, so we've flowed with it for 3 cycles of breath. So you'll start by inhaling your right fingertips up. Exhale, thread the needle. Just exhaling completely, and then inhaling, fingertips reach up again. Exhale, thread the needle. Final time. This time on your exhale, you can relax into it, resting your right shoulder and the side of your head on the mat. Assuming a position with your left hand that feels comfortable for you. Always breathing. If your left hand is not in that kickstand position, bringing it back there, and then gently coming out back to tabletop. So from tabletop here, take a look at where your hands are. Place your elbows right where your hands were. So your arms are like the number 11. Now you're going to, what I mean by that is your arms are parallel with one another. So your elbows were exactly where your hands were. and then they're parallel with one another. So now walk your knees a couple inches back and start to extend your arms straight. Your tailbone will reach back towards the back wall. So this is puppy. You can let your chest lower towards the mat. It probably, for some of us, won't touch the ground. But we're going to let our chin rest on the mat. If this is too much on your neck, you can set your mouth on the mat or your forehead. But with the chin, you'll get a really deep opening in the chest. Nice contraction of the shoulder blades. So this is sending a lot of oxygenated blood to the back upper body, to the shoulder blades. So this will help with posture and neck tension. And then to come out, be really mindful of your shoulders. So just walking your hands close towards you a little bit, bending your elbows, just really being gentle here as you come out of puppy. All right, and stepping back to plank. So, spreading the fingers wide once again, making that body straight like a plank, so not dipping the hips down or lifting the hips up, but one straight line. And then we'll chaturanga. So you'll just bend your elbows, slowly lowering yourself down towards the mat. Keep your elbows close to your body and lower all the way down. Glue your tailbone together, glue your feet together like a tail of a snake, and keep your elbows glued into your sides. We'll rise up as we inhale into cobra. And exhale, release. So we'll flow with our breath here. Inhale using the muscles in the back body to lift you up. So don't strain your neck. Exhale, lower. One more time. Keeping your tailbone, keeping your tail as if it's the tail of a snake, glued together. Keeping your elbows glued to your sides. And exhale, release. Now we're going to come into downward facing dog. So tuck your toes under, push back so your tailbone comes up towards the sky now. You might need to walk your feet a little closer towards your hands or make some adjustments. So here in down dog, take your time, maybe walk the dog, one heel comes towards the mat, the other knee bends, and then you switch. So move in any way that feels right to you. Think about your neck still being an extension of that spine, so you're not letting your head hang heavy here. You're keeping it in line with your spine. On your next inhale, you're going to transition forward into up dog. So your thighs stay off the mat. It's just your arms and your toes that are supporting you, or the tops of your feet. And then we're going to push back into down dog. So try that again. Inhale, up dog. Traditionally, it's the tops of our feet on the ground. Exhale, down dog. But for this purpose, I keep my toes tucked so we can flow easily in and out. Okay, now we're going to inhale, lift just the right leg up. One-legged down dog. Stay here and breathe. Now on your next exhale, bringing your right knee forward to touch your right elbow. Your upper body is sort of like in a plank position. So inhale, back to one-legged down dog. Exhale, right knee comes to the left elbow this time. Inhale, one-legged down dog. Exhale, right knee comes towards your nose, keeps creeping closer to your nose, and then you'll set your right foot between your hands into a low lunge. Set your left knee and the top of the left foot on the mat. And when you're ready, sweep your arms up. And relax. So instead of keeping our arms straight here, I want you to think like you're holding a really big beach ball. So your arms will look like this. So really, really big beach ball, or like a big exercise balance ball overhead. Relax your shoulders. Feel free to sink down into the pose a little deeper. This is giving you a slight back bend. So feel free to open up the chest, gently gaze upwards, kind of towards the corner of the room where the wall meets the ceiling. One more inhale, reach your fingertips all the way up, and exhale, lower your hands down. All right, from here, tuck your back toes and step back into downward facing dog. Pausing for a breath or two in downward facing dog. On your next inhale, come forward into up dog. Push back into down dog. One more time, forward into up dog. Exhale, push back into down dog. All right, now one-legged down dog on the other side. So left leg reaches up. Naturally, your left hip might pop up, but see if you can keep those hips parallel with one another. Breathing. All right. Now on your exhale, left knee comes to left elbow. Inhale, one-legged down dog. Exhale, left knee comes to right elbow. So a little cross-body action there. Inhale. Finally, left knee comes towards your nose. Continues to creep closer towards your nose. And then finally sits down. If you need to use your hand to help you, bring your foot between your hands. Go for it. Then set your knee and the top of your foot on the mat. And sweep your arms up. Coming into a low crescent lunge. You're holding that really big beach ball overhead. Relaxing into this pose. Breathing. Final inhale, reach your fingertips up. Exhale, lower them down. Tuck your back toe and step back into downward facing dog. Inhale into up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Now inhale your right leg up towards the sky. Once again, one-legged down dog. Bend at the knee. This time we're going to stack our right hip on top of our left. So you're looking under your right arm and feeling really open in the right side body. Shifting back to one-legged down dog. And step your foot forward between your hands into the lunge. Now we're going to come up into a high lunge. So you'll sweep your arms up. Your back toe is still tucked, heel off the mat. Gazing forward, smiling. Now lower your hands back down to the ground, and we're going to hop forward. So you might need to walk your hands a little bit forward in front of your foot. So we're getting ready for warrior 3. So your left leg is lifted now, parallel with the floor. So your hands are just there to kind of support you, and try now and see if you can lift your hands off the ground into prayer. Whew. Awesome. And then if you'd like, you can extend your arms all the way forward. Warrior 3. And don't fall out of it. Whenever you're ready, come on out just like you came into it, lowering your hands down to the ground. And let's try star. So now you're going to keep your right hand on the ground, lifting just your left fingertips up towards the sky. And so ideally your body is in one flat plane. So if you were up against the wall, you'd be touching the wall with all parts of your arm, legs, head, everything. You can look down for balance, or maybe gaze straight ahead or up towards the sky at your hand for a little extra challenge. All right, and then lower your hand down and carefully step back into lunge. Awesome. Okay, so from here we'll step back into downward facing dog. And we won't do the up dog now, we'll just go straight into the other side. So inhale, lift your left leg up, and then we stacked our hips. So left leg, or left hip rather, stacks on top of the right hip. So you're gazing under your left arm. Your left knee is bent. You're feeling a nice opening in the left side of the body. Breathing. Shifting back to one-legged down dog. Deep inhale. Exhale, step forward. Feel free to use your hands to help you. When you're ready, sweeping up into high lunge. Breathing. Pausing here. And now when you're ready, let your fingertips rain down, back down to the ground. Taking a little hop with the back leg, walking your fingertips a little bit forward. Right leg is parallel with the ground. Again, ideally, your hips will be parallel as well. So you're not popping that right hip up, rather it's facing the ground. Just trying your best, and then when you're ready, you can see if you can bring your hands to prayer, keeping that right leg extended back, and then maybe extending your arms all the way forward to a full expression of Warrior 3. And if you have a wall or a chair nearby, feel free to use it. So I'm shaking today. And when you're ready to come out, we'll do star if you'd like. So your left arm will lower, your right arm will reach up. And I keep saying star in this pose, but I just realized I'm incorrect. I believe this is half moon pose, so I apologize for that. I always think of this like a happy, shining star shape. And right hand comes down, stepping back to lunge, and stepping back to downward facing dog. One more time, inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And then we will take a child's pose. So set your knees down, bring your toes together, knees out, and lower your chest towards the ground as you walk your hands away from you. Resting your forehead on the mat. If you'd like, this could be a good time to grab a sip of water, or enjoy the child's pose, and then you can get a sip of water before we keep going. So unlike other forms of exercise, we don't want to get our heart rate up too high in yoga. We want to keep our breathing balanced and smooth and stay calm, both in mind as well as physical body the whole time. So that's why we take some pauses to prevent ourselves from staying in that high heart rate the whole time. We want to bring our heart rate down, bring our breathing back. Awesome. And then go ahead and feel free to take a sip of water if you like. I'm actually going to do that as well. So you can stay in child's pose for another moment, or you can come into downward facing dog. So we all come to downward facing dog. And then instead of jumping forward or only taking 2 steps, let's see if we can take some little baby steps forward as we come into a forward fold. So little tiny baby steps. See how many steps you can take. Coming into a forward fold. So that's kind of a fun way of going into it. Also for those of us who might not be super flexible, that's a nice way of kind of continuing to get that stretch in the hamstrings the entire time, kind of training our bodies to loosen up. So you might plant your hands into the mat, or maybe just touch fingertips to the mat, or if you have some blocks, you can use those right now. Feel free to bend your knees really generously. We're coming into a ragdoll. So let your head hang here. Go ahead and grab opposite elbows with your hands. Continuing to bend your knees more. Just letting yourself totally relax here. Maybe hanging a little bit like a pendulum. So your torso can gently rock forward and back. And maybe side to side. Feeling your elbows and head sway. Still breathing, even though your belly is contracted here. Constricted, rather. And when you're ready, release your arms and roll up one vertebrae at a time. Up to standing, coming into mountain. So pretty much we just come up tall. You may need to readjust your feet a little bit. Traditionally in mountain, your feet will be close together, toes in, heels a little bit out. But for many of us, it's a little more comfortable to create a little space between your feet. So feel free to go up to hip width apart with your feet. Arms are down by your sides. Think about bringing your shoulders forward, up, back, and down, reaching your fingertips towards the ground. Again, a softness here. So thinking about rooting your feet into the mat. So little roots growing out of the toes, out of the heels, out of the soles of the feet, anchoring you down, feeling energy and nourishment coming up out of the earth, coming up into your body. So energy drawing upwards through the front body, feeling that gentle liftedness in the front body, and again, growing taller out of the crown of your head. And then just carefully notice the back body. Sometimes when we try to grow taller, we overemphasize and we create that deep sway in the back. If that's the case, reduce that deep sway. You can actually help to take your hands right to that lower back and just rest them there, feeling that tailbone kind of ground downwards. And then release your hands down. feeling balanced on both sides. So now many of us wait outside to enter like a grocery store or something because of the capacity in a grocery store. So you can challenge yourself to stand in mountain as you wait in line to get into the store. It seems so funny, but this is, the natural way to stand. Totally symmetrical, balanced. It's a great habit to get into. Okay, now we're going to start picking some fruit. So you can imagine you're picking any type of fruit that's up in a tree. So you'll come up onto your tippy toes and reach one arm up, grab that fruit, lower it down, lower your heels down. Go on the other side with the other hand, reach up, come up onto your tippy toes, and lower it down. So you can actually bring some visualization into this. Maybe watch your hand as it reaches up, grabs that fruit, and lowers down. You can imagine what type of fruit you're grabbing. Maybe really get into it, feel the texture of that fruit. So feel free to have some fun. And you can pick up the pace if you want. If you want to pick as many apples as you can, go a little faster. Or stay slow, your choice. Probably start to feel it in your legs pretty soon. Couple more times. Whew. All right, and relax. Ooh, I feel it in my calves. All right, so now we will separate our feet about hip width apart here. And we're coming into chair, which is why I'm facing the other direction. You can stay right where you are. So you're going to think about sitting into a chair. So you'll sit down. What chair do you see that is slanted like that? So think about bringing your thighs parallel with the ground, like you're really sitting into a chair. You can come up off your toes a little bit to help yourself sink deeper. Reach your arms upwards. If this is too much, you can bring your arms straight forwards. Breathing, smiling. This is super fun. Feel that core stay engaged, kind of being like a powerhouse to give you energy to continue breathing through this pose. Big deep inhale. On your next exhale, keep your body exactly how it is, but you're going to send your fingertips back into airplane arms. Sweep forward, inhale into chair. Exhale, airplane arms. Inhale into chair, and exhale, release, back to standing. Awesome. Now if you're not already there, come to face the long edge of the mat. Bring your feet together and sweep your arms up. Interlace your hands together, just pointing with the pointer fingers. Big, deep inhale up. Exhale, lean to one side. This is like a standing crescent moon, so your hips are going to push out in the opposite direction. And inhale back to standing. Exhale the other side. Inhale back to standing. Now arms come to the sides, taking a big step or steps. So your feet come wide. So this is star. So your feet should just be comfortable here. Your toes are likely pointing a little bit out to the sides, but should just be comfortable and natural. So in star here, you can smile. Think about your arms really reaching out in both directions. And then bring your right toes to face the right side of you. And left toes pivot in on a diagonal. So we're getting ourselves ready for a triangle. So from here, you're going to hinge forward like someone's pulling on your hand. And then lower down. Right arm will rest on your shin, on the mat, maybe on your thigh even, or on a block. So all those are great options. Just make sure it's not pushing into your knee. That's definitely not good for your knee. So thinking about opening up through the chest and the hip. So you don't want to be facing downward, you want to be facing the side. You can gaze up at your fingertips or straight ahead. Don't let your head hang heavy, let it be an extension of your spine. And then when you're ready, bend that front knee. You may need to increase the space between your feet a little bit coming into warrior two. So arms reach out in both directions. Take a look back at the back fingertips with the left hand. Make sure that that arm is parallel with the floor. And then bring your gaze back forward, out over your right fingertips. And breathe. Your hips will be facing the long edge of your mat to the side. Your right knee is aligned right on top of your right ankle. So make sure that knee isn't caving inwards. Relax your shoulders, gazing out over your right fingertips. And flip that front palm up. Coming back to reverse warrior, your left hand can slide down the leg, or it can just reach behind you. Gazing into your palm. Exhale, side angle. So your forearm comes to your thigh, left fingertips come up and over. Breathing here. Coming into reverse side angle. So pivoting on those back toes, plant your left palm, right fingertips reach up. And breathe. Lower your right hand down to the ground. Now we're in a low lunge. We're going to pivot back into warrior two. So plant your left heel again and windmill your arms back to warrior two. Straighten that front knee and coming back into star. Pausing in star, smiling. And repeating on the other side. So left toes face the left side of yourself now. Right toes will come in on a diagonal. It's like a 45-degree angle facing the right front corner of your body. So like about 2 or 3 o'clock. And reach your arms out to the sides, coming into triangle. So hinging forward. And then lowering your left arm down. Again, not on your knee. A block is a great thing to use in this pose if you have one. I can show you what that will look like. So you can actually place the block on the inside of your leg or the outside. So it kind of depends on your anatomy and also what you're used to practicing. But either are okay options. And then bending the front knee, maybe taking a little step back to create a little more space. Hips face the wide edge of the mat. Naturally, your left knee probably kind of pushes to the right, caves inwards a little bit. Go ahead and bring it back in line with your heel. Reach your arms outwards. Look back to make sure that right arm is parallel with the mat. And then bring your gaze forward, out over your left fingertips, and smile. So this pose is called warrior, and in yogic philosophy and Buddhist philosophy and lots of other kind of schools of thought, warriors are not warriors of violence or force. but rather being a warrior is having the courage to stand up for what you believe in, to face those things in life that are scary, to be genuine and truthful as we go through life. So those are some things to contemplate as you enjoy warrior pose. Flip your front palm up and lean back into reverse warrior, gazing into your palm. And exhale, side angle. Don't let your head hang. Make sure it's an extension of your spine. And then lower your right hand down, pivoting up onto your back toes. Left arm, fingertips reach up towards the sky into side angle, or reverse side angle, sorry. And then lower your hands down to the mat, setting your right heel down, windmilling your arms up, warrior two, coming back into star. Now from here, we're going to take a wide-legged forward fold. You may want to block nearby. And when you're ready, you can start with your hands on your hips or reach them up and lower down, whatever you find is in your practice. But think about that hinge happening from your hips as you hinge forward, bringing your hands to the block or the floor, and breathing. You may find that you want to step your feet a little further away from one another once you're here. Maybe bringing your forearms down to the mat. Thinking about bringing even maybe the top of your head towards the mat. So give yourself time to release and relax into this deep forward fold. If you're super advanced and a headstand is in your practice, this is an option. I'm not going to do it, but if it is in your practice, of course, please don't try it if it's not something you do regularly. But you could theoretically interlace your hands, set this very crown of your head down in your hands as a cradle, and then lift your legs off the ground. So we're all at different levels, all working towards gaining strength in mind and body. So wherever you're at right now, breathe and enjoy it. Of course, if you were in that headstand, coming out, carefully, very carefully. I never recommend doing headstand alone unless it's something you've been doing in your practice for a long time. And really, if you're not accustomed to it, you should wait until you're with a teacher to give it a try. Okay, so coming about halfway up, so just straightening your arms now. Go ahead and heel, toe, your feet together so you come back into a forward fold. And then just crouch down into a little low squat. So you're up on your toes here, heels are off the ground, bringing your hands into prayer. Lower your hands down to the mat, and let's try crow. What the heck, great. So planting your hands in the mat, you're going to lift up so that your legs straighten a bit, and then you want to place your knees on the upper part of your arms. So I can show you what that looks like from the side. Planting your hands, lifting up, setting your knees on your upper arms, And then just experimenting here. Start by leaning forward, feeling the weight coming into your hands. And this is a great place to stay if you're new to this pose or if you haven't done it in a while. And then if you'd like to, you can think about lifting one foot off the ground, maybe lowering it, lifting the other foot off the ground, and then maybe trying to lift both feet off the ground. This is another one that's really good to have a partner or a spotter. And then if you don't have someone with you, taking like a bunch of comfy, cushiony blankets in front of you, you likely won't fall, but it's definitely a chance. So don't be afraid of falling. Just set yourself up for success so you land safely. So play with it. We all have some good days and better days. And when you are ready, we will come onto our backs. So take your time. If you're still enjoying crow, feel free to play around for another moment. No rush. Coming onto our backs. Starting just like we did at the beginning of class. So separating your feet wide, letting your knees come together. Maybe one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Feeling your back ground. Now extend your legs and your arms, reaching in opposite directions. So big stretch. Like you're waking up in the morning. And bringing your hands back down to your sides. Let's go ahead, actually, you may want to strap here. So at the beginning of class, we stretched our hamstrings by just lifting the leg and making ankle circles. Now that we're more warmed up, we can try it with a strap and go a little bit further. So if you don't have a strap, you can use a scarf or a belt or a long knee sock. And go ahead and wrap it over the sole of your foot. And then lifting your right leg up towards the sky or the left, whichever one you started with. This time we can use the strap to help guide us. So please don't apply a lot of pressure. In fact, the more pressure you apply, you kind of feel your leg almost shrinking down because you're pressing down as well. So think more about pressing or pulling towards you rather than pressing down on the strap. Pushing out through your heel, let your leg be long. Breathing. If you don't have anything resembling a strap, if you don't have a scarf or a belt or anything like that, then this time you can take your hands and interlace them behind your leg. So both feet are flexed here. Taking that strap in just your right hand, we're going to open the right leg out to the right side. If you'd like to, you can open your left hand out to the left. Feeling a deep opening in the right hip. Breathing. with control, very carefully bringing your leg back up, and then taking like an open twist here. You're going to keep your legs straight using the help of the strap, lowering that right leg over to the left side. You can bring your right arm out to the right, palm facing up. This time the strap will be held in your left hand, of course. And carefully bringing the strap with your leg in it back up to the top. Another cycle of breath in and out. One more time, in and exhale, release with control back down to the ground. And we'll do that on the other side. So wrapping the strap around the foot of the left side or the opposite side that you didn't already do, lifting your leg up. And you'll probably notice just in those couple of minutes how this really helped to open up and release any tension in the hip. So all that to say is that starting out here on the other side, you might not be as flexible as when you finished on the other side. So just taking your time, breathing into it. Remember, not applying a lot of pressure down on the strap, but just using that strap to guide your leg a little bit closer towards your head. Flexing both feet. Breathing. Taking that strap in your left hand and carefully bringing your left leg all the way to the left. So keeping it straight. It can be totally out to the side or, go with your level of flexibility. You can bring your right hand out to the side, palm facing up. Breathing. Now with control, bringing your leg back up to the ceiling, back up to the sky, grabbing the strap with your right hand, lowering your leg over to the left for a twist. Left arm can open out to the left, palm facing up. And bring your leg back to the center with control. Holding it here for a couple more cycles of breath. So inhaling, thinking about lengthening that leg. Exhale, thinking about drawing the toes a little closer towards your face. One more inhale. And with control, lowering your leg all the way down to the ground. Pausing here for a moment. And then walking your feet towards your sit bones. So the soles of your feet come to the mat. Feet walk closer towards your sit bones. Getting ready for bridge. So on an inhale, you'll start to scoop your hips up off the mat, lifting them up. And we'll flow with our breath. So as we exhale, lower your hips down, back down to the ground. And as you inhale, scoop them up. In bridge, you don't want to turn your neck or your head while you're lifted. So if you're not sure what this should look like, you can come out of the pose, take a look at the screen, and then go back into it. So we're flowing in and out with our breath. And on this next inhale, we'll stay here and pause as we breathe. So we'll stay in bridge as we continue to inhale and exhale. You can feel free to go a little further if you want by walking our forearms together, coming up onto those triceps. Shoulder blades walk towards one another. Interlacing your hands will allow you to lift your hips a little higher. Now, if your knees are splayed out to the sides, bring them in a little bit closer. Not necessarily touching, but maybe about, imagine a yoga block is between your knees, or like a small-sized beach ball. Keep engaging your glutes here. So this is a great one for supporting the lower back, because it builds some great strength in the glutes, which are essential for the health of your lower back. Keep breathing. One more inhale, lifting your hips a little higher. And then to come out, first walk your shoulder blades back down onto the mat and lower down one vertebrae at a time. See how slowly you can lower down. Now we will either try that again if you'd like to do bridge again, or we can do a full wheel pose. So if you want to do bridge, repeat the same thing that we did. If you want to do wheel, you'll start in the same way by walking your feet really close to your sit bones. And then you'll take your hands and place them on the mat, palms facing down, with your fingertips reaching towards your feet. So even just this is a good stretch for your wrists. Then you'll start to lift your hips up, pressing into your hands, and push yourself all the way up into wheel. And this is another pose where if it's not something that you normally do, I really recommend having a spotter with you. So your practice, and you get to choose how deep you want to go into the pose and how long you'd like to stay in the pose. In general, you'll probably want to stay longer in bridge than in full wheel. So we'll all come out at different times. And we will come straight into Shavasana from here. So once you lower down, you can start to get really comfy. So some recommendations that I have is a bolster underneath your knees. like so. And then the second recommendation is a neck roll or a rolled up blanket underneath your neck, or even just a pillow. Of course, put some socks on so you're nice and warm. Maybe cover yourself with a blanket or put on a sweater. Turn the lights off so your eyes can relax. Take your time to get really comfy. And we have plenty of time for Shavasana. We have about 10 minutes. So if there's a pose that we didn't do that you really feel like you want to do now or need to do now, feel free before entering Shavasana. So taking your time to get really, really comfortable. Remind yourself that Shavasana is a time to be still, completely still in mind as well as body. There's no need for any activation of your muscles. So you can give yourself permission to just melt. Relax your jaw, relax your eyes, feel your arms and your legs becoming heavy, sinking down into the earth. Relaxing your chest, sinking down into the earth. Hips also relax down into the earth. Let your thoughts relax as well. So just like at the beginning of class, remind yourself that there's no need to indulge in the mundane thoughts that come into our minds right now. So if a list pops into your mind, or something that happened yesterday that you've been thinking about, or something you have to do later today or tomorrow, just recognize that you're thinking about it and then let yourself let it go. And I want to make it clear that those kind of mundane, mind chattering thoughts are very different than deep emotions that may come to surface as you practice yoga or during Shavasana. So if you feel any heavy grief or exuberant joy or something like that, that's not the same as those mundane thoughts. So if some kind of deep, heavy emotion comes to surface, let yourself be with that emotion. So you can put your hands on your heart. If something like that comes up, you can say, this feeling belongs to. Send yourself a little love and support yourself through those emotions. So the emotions are different than the thoughts. Helps to notice where you might feel it in the body. Sending yourself a little love to any part of your body that might need little healing thoughts. But of course, if your mind feels clear, allow yourself to completely let go. Breathing lots of peace and love in. Breathe in lots of peace and love out. slowly begin to redirect your attention back to your body. Maybe wiggling your toes and your fingers. You can try opening your arms out to the sides, palms facing up, and gently rolling the back of your head across the mat to look out at your right fingertips and then your left. Just getting a nice little neck stretch, slowly loosening up. And then when you're ready, you can roll over onto one side and stay here in a fetal position for a moment. So enjoying the comfort and nourishment that this pose brings. Remind yourself that you can return back to this calm state of breathing, calm state of mind and body, anytime throughout your day that you find yourself maybe having some racing thoughts or tensing of the body. You can have the power to return back here. Even without a yoga class, you can allow yourself to relax. And as you relax here in the fetal position for another moment, I just have a very short quote since it is the holiday season. This is a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he reminds us, "The most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers." So just a reminder that while you might feel pressured to get everyone gifts, don't lose sight of coming back to presence so you can really be there in mind, body, and physically be there for those that you love. So you can carefully push yourself up to a seated position. You can feel free to bring your hands to prayer. And we'll finish by saying Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which means may all creatures everywhere be in bliss. And so that's a wish that we have. We can send it out into the universe. So thank you so much for all of you who practiced live with me, or those of you who might tune in later. I hope you have a great holiday. And for those of you who are celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. It's the third candle tonight. Namaste.